What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Player One versus the World. Not StrangeCast, though. Bit of a weird, different intro, but we are here. I'm Adnan. Obviously, this is Adam.
Obviously.
Obviously, different setup, though. This is where, we were talking about our podcast. Feels a bit different not seeing him in his usual StrangeCast setup, but we are here on the channel because we've decided to do a bit of extra different content. And this is why I always tell people you should subscribe to the channel, like our content, turn on notifications, comment. You help support our channel because not everything is just StrangeCast on the channel. Obviously, time is of the essence with us, but sometimes we do different content. And this is such an example because we decided to talk about Oxenfree II. I pitched this idea to Adam. Adam was really keen on it because we're going to do a full-on review / Spoilercast discussion for the game that we played. And, well, there's a lot to be said here. And before we start that as well, as I said, if you are new here, we do host a bi-weekly Life is Strange podcast called StrangeCast, which you can check out on the channel. 48 episodes in, close to 50, by the way. I only realized that when I posted it on Wednesday. I was like, oh, actually, we're so close to 50, which is strange. We host a bi-weekly podcast called StrangeCast. Obviously, my channel is very heavily Life is Strange related. I have a series called Life After Strange. There's other interviews on there as well, so you should just definitely check out our channel if you are new here, because we are obviously talking about Oxenfree. It's a different game from what we usually talk about, but nonetheless, we are here. So Oxenfree II came out, was it on Tuesday?
Yeah. No, Wednesday. No,
Wednesday.
Here's the thing. And let me complain about this a little bit about release dates. It came out Wednesday, July 12th, but PC got it an hour earlier before us. But yeah, if you had it on PS4 or Switch, you couldn't play it till 9 a.m. Pacific time, which is 11 a.m. me and Adnan over in the great Britain. What time could you play it?
At midnight.
Wait, nuh-uh.
Yep, they locked at midnight.
You could turn it on at midnight on July 12th?
Yeah.
That's wild because on it said on the site that PS4 couldn't play it until, or PS5 couldn't play it until 5 p.m. your time.
Well, when I didn't actually check at the time, but when it was preloading on my console, it said with 6 hours something left when I checked it. So I assumed at midnight it was going to unlock so I could play it. So I don't know if they put another mechanism in place to stop it.
Oh, yeah, no. You could pre-download it. I didn't know if you tried to play it before then.
I actually had planned to start it at midnight, but then I was like, no, actually, I'm going to go to bed instead. I'm like, I want
to So I woke up and I tried to play it and it said, oh, sorry, you can't do it. And I'm like, what are you talking about? It's the release date. And I know this happens with a lot of games. Like a lot of games do this, but it's just annoying. So it's not Oxenfree period. It's just all games. Like there's no more midnight releases anymore. There's no download and play it at midnight. Everybody is just, locking games behind a time wall. And I was like, dude, just 12 a.m. Can I play the game on release day? Yeah, so I can just wake up and just do it, because I didn't have work until later that night, so I had the whole morning to play it, and I was just waiting for it to unlock. I'm like, come on, dude. But yeah, according to the site, PS5 wasn't unlocked until 5 p.m. your time.
That is interesting. Well, because I know that, for context as well, people like Adam has been buzzing for Oxenfree 2. For the longest time, I got into Oxenfree because of Adam's recommendation, and I played it. So I decided to pick it up because I was like, we can start a conversation. But Adam has been waiting for a long time for this. So that's why it was when you send me messages. Yeah, when you send me messages, you're like, bro, it's not unlocking. I'm like, actually, this is a bit unusual. But no, as you said, it's kind of strange that it's been that long, because I only played it last year. I think it was late last year when you recommended it to me.
Yeah,
so it's 7
years since the first game.
Yeah, so I haven't had to wait as long as you have to play it, and I know that you love Oxenfree. But as I said, with this conversation, we're going to try and structure it where it's both a review and a spoiler cast. So any part of the review section won't have spoilers. Kind of going to go against that, and we'll have timestamps and stuff. When we start the spoiler cast section, you're in spoiler territory at that point. I'm not going to be held accountable for you learning parts of the story that you don't know about. Yeah. So just have a warning, and I'll warn you again when it happens. But it's kind of kick off the review part as well. So this came out on the 12th of July. We've only played it once. I played it once so far. I believe Adam's only played it once, and we'll come on to that in a minute.
Mhm.
But I kind of want to start with the price, Adam, because like I always said that when I reviewed things in the industry, and what I don't like about modern day games journalist reviewers is that they don't think with the price in mind. Sometimes it's like
Yes.
I always think like because you always get a review code at that point, so you kind of like scooch off the idea where it's like actually I don't need to worry about the price, but I'm always about price because like if I'm going watching a film in the cinema, I'm paying a price to enjoy something, so it's like it has to match up to that standard. Same as if you went to a restaurant, you're getting food, it needs to match
Yeah.
the price that you're paying for it. You're happy to pay more for it if it is good food, but it has to be good food.
Mhm.
So same with video games. It's like I've recently played Final Fantasy 16 as I spoke about. I've ditched that now. I've done with it. I didn't even finish it. I paid
Mhm.
full AAA price, which was about 75 British pounds. That'd be about
Yeah.
$90 plus in the US in conversion. But with this, I paid under £15 for it. So
Yes.
it was on discount as a PS Plus member. And I think it's like retails about £20, near £20, £18. And it was like
Mhm.
down to about 15 for me to buy. So £15 I paid for it. This reminds me, first of all, of the days of Telltale Games, Life is
Mhm.
Strange 1, Life is Strange 2 for price points because it felt absolutely
Yeah.
great paying that much price for what I got as well in the end. I was very happy with that.
Oh yeah, no, I paid $15 because it was a pre-sale price on the Switch online store, and yeah, it sells on retail for 19.99. So that's really amazing. And first Oxenfree is always on sale. Like it
Yeah.
was just recently on sale for like $2. The original Oxenfree, I think it's on retail now for $10. I want to say. But yeah, no, the second game is on retail for 20, and that's I would pay 30 for this game at
Yeah,
least,
I would.
even 40. I wouldn't even complain about because there's so many paths you can take. Like you can play this game for a very very long time.
Yeah, no, as you said, like I think like how cheap Oxenfree 1 is as well. I think it's one of those games that every console should have on like digital
Oh yeah.
download. Just so you can just play it back for what it is because the quality is so good. Like with Oxenfree 2, and it's Oxenfree 2 Lost Signals as the name is.
Yes.
Oxenfree 2, it shows me why I love these kind of games, why I've like become really detached from AAA games, where I very
Mm.
rarely buy AAA games. When I was younger, 18, 19, 20,
Oh
I'd pay like
sure.
maybe like 3 or 4 times a year. I'm usually down to like maybe one per year now or two,
Hmm.
maybe at push. I don't like buying AAA games. And it's like this is an example of where you don't need to have a 200, $300 million budget. Like we've seen it
Hmm.
recently with all the news of the Sony stuff with like Last of Us, Horizon in the court cases with Microsoft and Activision Blizzard. Like they were explaining like how much these games are costing to make. Games don't need to be this expensive. Games need to
No.
be very like there's a reason why we're all so nostalgic for games, especially like
Hmm.
remakes and all that. There were simpler times, there were easier games, and it's like
Yeah.
we just don't need the same like this perpetuation of the Ubisoft like open world mechanic that became a thing where every game needs to be triple A blockbuster to the point where it looks like a £300 million film. It doesn't need to be like that. So like, I'm so happy that Night School Studio, which is the developer of Oxenfree,
Hmm.
just kept it simple. Like because this game's a bit different as well because this game is published by Netflix Games, and the
Mm.
original Oxenfree isn't published by Netflix Games. That was published by
Yeah.
Night School Studio. So it's a bit of a different budget has gone up like just slightly, but the game's so like when I kicked it up,
Hmm.
booted up, I was like, it's Oxenfree, man. I'm like, yes, that's all I
Yeah,
want.
it's Oxenfree on a higher budget. Like I
Yeah,
would say that. Because the world is bigger and even
yeah,
the visuals are bigger, you know. The gameplay is bigger, but it's still Oxenfree. It's still the elements of Oxenfree. It's just a lot more grandeur. And
yeah.
that's a good thing. I think that comes from the Netflix budget, of course. And I that's probably why I'm not exactly sure what year Netflix bought Night School Studios, but this was delayed 2 years.
I'm gonna
Um,
quickly look that up whilst you talk.
yeah, no, this game was supposed to be set 5 years after Oxenfree. It was set for a 2021 release date, and then it got delayed to 2023. So it got a 2 year delay. And I'm not exactly sure if that has to do with the Netflix
So
acquisition. Hmm.
Netflix acquired it in September 2021,
Yep.
and
So
the acquisition didn't affect the studio's work on Oxenfree 2.
yeah. So they probably had something going on. blame the whole world situation in the time or the acquisition, but it had 2-year delay, and I think that 2-year delay made this game a bit special.
Yeah.
In terms of bugs, I want to talk about that. In terms of bugs, I didn't get too many bugs. There were
Mm.
some times where like the little speech bubble kind of like flashed up a little too high.
Yeah.
And the game crashed on me once. The game did
Wait,
crash on me.
you were playing on Switch, weren't you?
I was playing on Switch,
And I
yes.
was on PlayStation 5 for context.
Hmm. Yeah, no, the ending crashed. So the epilogue, right, where the last scene, and it just like, oh, sorry, this shut down. Did it happen to you?
If you remember, it happened to me in the first Oxenfree
Yeah.
when I was playing it, and then Night School Studio, I like tweeted at them, and then they patched it. I only had one issue that happened, which I'll explain later in the story section. For some reason, the game just froze. Like it kind of like one of the characters, Jacobs, was just standing there, and the prompts wouldn't
Oh.
continue. So I was basically in this building, and I was trying to like navigate around and interact with things, and the things wouldn't interact. And Jacob was just standing there, positioned in
Oh.
one place, and he wasn't moving. And I was like, hang on a minute. And I basically had to reset the entire section because I was like, what is going on here? I was like, this makes no sense. Reset it, and it started again. So that was the only issue I actually found of
Yeah.
it, which is surprising as well, because I was expecting maybe one or two other niggling issues that might pop up just because
I was expecting way more bugs because this game
Yeah.
is so big for what it is. And no, I didn't really encounter too many bugs. Like I maybe couple, like,
Yeah.
but not even like even groundbreaking. Because like once I rebooted the game back, it just started me in the same place, and then it continued. So I still finished the game. I still got credits, so it was still good. It wasn't game breaking.
Yeah,
But
that's the main thing. At least it wasn't like game breaking. It wasn't like as bugged as I would expected. Like we've talked about it before. Like, you know, when you play a game like The Council, there was like a lot of bugs in there, and even
yes,
like
it still has a lot of bugs in it.
yeah, it does.
To
Yeah,
this
it does.
day.
Like, unfortunately,
Yeah.
it's a great game, but like it was just like plagued with bugs here and there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it wasn't that much of an issue with it. So I was kind of happy with how they'd handled it. And I think like maybe there might be one or two bugs I might find if I go back through another playthrough. But it was just the one bug experience I had. So I'm kind of like pleasantly surprised with how well everything else went with it. And in terms of the actual game though, as well, like Oxenfree, I don't know if there's any other area you want to kind of tackle next, or if you want to like just
I do want to tackle my one issue.
Oh, here we go. Let's start with that. I like starting with issues first.
Yeah.
That's it.
So that's the thing. I'm a huge fan of the first game. I'm not even joking with you, audience. I have about 60 hours plugged in to Oxenfree, both on Xbox, Switch, and PC. I didn't play on PlayStation, but like in those three platforms, altogether, I have around 60 hours plugged into Oxenfree. So I'm a big fan of the first game. The one thing I will say, my one issue, is there are too many characters, I believe. There's too many characters, whereas in the first Oxenfree, there was just you know, your main set of teenagers. Five. Okay, good. I was about to say 5, but I was like, wait, I'm missing one. No, there's 5 plus the Sunken, which is the paranormal entities, right? So the Sunken count as a character. So with that, that's 6. But yeah, you just had your 5 main ones, and each of them had their own characteristics and their own playthroughs, and you could interact with all of them. You could interact with Nona. You can go out with Nona. You can have Jonas and Nona go out. You can have Ren and Nona go out. You can have none of them go out. You can have all of them hate you, right? So it was just like those 5 main. Whereas this one, when I say there's just too many characters, I love the dynamic between Jacob and Riley, right? That's a great dynamic. I think those two were phenomenal. I think it just stuck to those two. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
The walkie-talkie people, like, I don't care. Like, I didn't care. Like, I was like, why am I supposed to care about Maria? You know, Maria's like asking me sometimes like advice, or like Maria wants to give me advice, and I'm just like, why do I care? Or there's a fisherman, Nick, that comes on the walkie-talkie.
Oh, I like Nick. Leave Nick alone.
I didn't care.
Leave
about
Nick alone. Leave Nick
like,
alone. By the way, as well, again, like we're not spoiling parts of the story. That will be more of a story-heavy
No,
thing. These are
and I'm
just
not.
characters that we're going to talk about.
And that's the thing. I'm not
Um,
saying the characteristics of these characters, but then you had the other people, the antagonists. Then not enough time with the Sunken. I believe. I feel like the
yeah,
Sunken were kind of like pushed off a little bit
which is a bit
up until
interesting
the
you
end.
mentioned that because I thought
Mm.
that you really were excited about that idea because you were like saying, "Oh, we can go into the theories of like the island and like the
I
sunken
really
and
wanted. So that's the thing. It's like I think there were too many new characters, and I
yeah,
really wanted the Sunken to be more involved. The
yeah,
Sunken, I really, really, really wanted more lore on them, and I wanted them to explain themselves more. But we didn't get them till around Act 3. Act
hmm
3 is really when we get the Sunken.
yeah,
Act 1 and 2, it's kind of like the Sunken are present, um, but it's not until Act 3 that we really get a good involvement. And I think Act 3 is my favorites. Like that's
yeah,
what, like once I got to Act 3, I'm like, this is what I was waiting for, dude.
yeah.
Uh, but when I say too many characters, I think there wasn't enough focus on these
Yeah.
characters. You know?
I think to kind of like pick up on what you said,
Yeah.
I like the dynamic that they went with the story in terms of that it's like X amount of years after the first game, and then the kind of
Yes.
focus point is two characters where it's Jacob and Riley. You play as Riley
Yes.
in the game, and I
Mhm.
think like I like the chemistry that you had with them. I think like that was a really
Yes.
nice kind of part of the conversation where it's like you spend a lot of time with them. I agree with what you said that there's too many characters. Like for example, that radio could have been there or the walkie-talkie, but it could have
Yeah.
been streamlined. So you could have had like a few of them. So it's like Nick, for
Mhm.
example, Evelyn, and then who's the girl that's who's hosting the
Maria.
school show, Maria. Yeah, because Maria has some funny segments, and it's just
Yes.
so natural, like the writing as well, like when you speak to her. So I feel like you could have streamlined it, but it's like when another person turns up and then another person turns up, and whether
Yeah.
they're important to the story or like a side character, it still just feels like another person's turned up. It's like when you're like at a party,
Yeah.
or you like
That's why I
you've
want to go into like too many characters because there are spoiler characters.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like
Um.
it's like when when you go out with a friend and it's like then another person turns up and another person turns up. And it's like you have six people in a crowd and it's like you can't talk to each person properly and you don't have the
Mm.
time. It feels like that with Oxenfree. So it's like I get I get completely what you mean with like there's too many characters there at times, and I think like I did feel like I wanted a bit maybe if you asked another character and you spent more time on the walkie-talkie with Evelyn. I really enjoyed the
Mhm.
parts with Evelyn; they're quite
Oh
funny,
yeah,
and
Evelyn was great.
even
Yeah.
even with Nick as well, which we'll come into the story section later. But it was on the stuff that
Yeah.
happens in there. Um, Generally speaking, I did really enjoy that, and I like the setup that they did with it. And I think like one of the things that's just like exceptional with Midnight School, what are they called again? Midnight School Studio.
Just Night School Studio.
Night School Studio. I don't know why I keep saying midnight. Night School
Yeah.
Studio. One of the things that is exceptional is their ability to write dialogue.
Oh
They
yeah.
are very, very good at writing
Which
dialogue.
I don't know if you know this, but the two people that are the heads in Night School were former Telltale people.
Oh man, that says it
Yeah.
all. That really does say
Yeah,
it
they
all.
were
But
they were former Telltale. And if you watch the documentaries on Oxenfree, the two heads were just like, yeah, no, like they are very, very bitter about Telltale. Like this is before the whole Telltale shutdown, and they're just like, yeah, Telltale games usually have this many dialogue, but we have this many dialogue, so take that. And they just like compare dialogue, but yeah, no, they just say like we have this many lines of dialogue, so take that. No, they are very good at it, but yeah, they're former Telltale employees.
I do remember you saying something about Telltale being part of their studio. I remember that when I first played Oxenfree,
Mm-hmm.
you said that they were involved in it. But it does show though, because it's like it's the it's the subtle nuances in the story. It's the kind of
Yeah.
like the natural flow of a conversation. Like dialogue is so difficult to write. Like I
Mm-hmm.
genuinely say this to people: like try and write a dialogue and make it, and in a
Yeah.
way that can appeal to a lot of people, that can resonate with people. I found it like natural flowing conversations between like Jacob and
Mm-hmm.
Riley, between Riley and X character, and Jacob between X character. It was natural, even when even like just during the simple moments in the game as well. And again, we'll come into the spoilercast. But
Yeah.
like the simpler moments, you had like just an appreciation for the fact that you were enjoying this game. There's like a simple like side scroller essentially at times, and you
Mm-hmm.
basically have this really gorgeous aesthetic that's pretty much kept the same since Oxenfree, and you have no issues with that either. And you get this like really nice story being told. Because one of the things I realized was like people level criticism by the fact that they talk in the background. I heard some
Mm-hmm.
people saying like they just don't shut up the characters, like they just constantly talk. But I'm like, That's the entire point, though. It's
That's
like you're
the
meant to be like
point.
walking from point A to point B, and they're meant
Yeah.
to be just like yapping on or having conversations. Because like, there's not a moment of silence with like Jacob, who like follow you around and just keep starting a conversation with everyone else. But I'm like, yeah, that's the point. It's like I don't need to tune into the radio to listen to some. It's like we're going from
Yeah.
point A to point B, and we're having a conversation and character developing. Um,
I will say
so
that there are times in the radio you will find lore pieces,
yeah,
like when you listen to the radio. So that happened in the first Oxenfree too. There's like a little bit of like lore or like foreshadowing. There are certain stations that will like give that. But yeah. Last thing I'll say about like what I really liked, and I'm sure you're waiting for me to say this. Scientific music in this game
yeah,
is, in comparison, Scientific, his OST in the first Song's Free is probably my top 3 of like OSTs period of all time. Like it's in the camp of Halo 2's OST.
uh,
Like that's what I mean. Like Oxenfree's like OST was really spectacular. And
yeah,
what Scientific did for this one, there were some original Oxenfree tunes into this one. They sprinkled it in, but it just felt more synthy horror kind of feel, but a little bit more lighthearted. There was a lot more urgency put into these songs. There was just a lot more, just like there's a sense of urgency in this song, and there is,
yeah.
and it matches it really matches the storyline of like the sense of urgency. Like we have to get to this. I think Scientific really absolutely killed the soundtrack for this for this game, and I'm very much appreciating that they put original Oxenfree music into this one, so it's kind of like a familiarity set. But yeah, no, I really liked this OST a lot. But
They did the music for the first one as well, didn't they?
Scientific, yeah, he did the
Yeah,
first one.
like
Yeah.
Scientific's music is quite exceptional. Like it just
Oh yeah.
these games like, and
Mm,
this is why like for me like I really got into Oxenfree, and like when you pitched it to me and I got into it, is because I like a game like Life is Strange. So obviously
mm,
we've always talked about Life is Strange. I love how simple the storytelling is, and then when you have like a really gorgeous score from Jonathan Morelli, or like
yeah.
the soundtrack from Sid Matters starts playing something, or a song, it just fits aesthetically with the game, and that's what happens with Oxenfree 2 as well. It's like I think you gave me more of a deeper insight as well, especially from the music front when we were talking privately.
Mm-hmm.
Like when there's like horror scenes, it's like and it's like this kind of like noise. I'm like it
Yeah.
it like puts me on a little bit on edge, because I was like I was going to say
Actually,
to you,
little
go
fun
on,
fact for you.
yeah,
And I'm more than positive he did this for Oxenfree too. I
oh
can guarantee it. But the first Oxenfree, right? Every time you get those like radio sounds, like
yeah,
he has collected World War II radios, and it's in
uh,
his basement, and he collected the sounds from like actual radios. Because he says like, yeah, you can pick up like a plug-in, you can pick up sounds online, but I wanted to get the real, like the any kind of switches that
yeah,
he gets that from World War II radios, and I'm pretty sure he
uh,
did the same thing. Like he gets everything like from a practical sense. Like
yeah,
this is like a real sound rather than like a made up um like you make it from like a tissue box, like you know. He has radios, so
yeah.
I don't know. I just think that's a really cool touch for this.
Yeah, no, but I think it's a great touch because it adds the deeper level of complexity with the game. Because it's like
Yeah.
it's not just a, oh yeah, we've got this kind of like setting, and there's, oh, we're going to kind of reference parts of
Mm,
history. We're bringing history into the music, and with
yeah.
that, it kind of like makes the atmosphere great. So it's like when I was playing it and the tone shifts, and it's like the entire elevation of the music picks up, and when it becomes a bit more horror-y, as again you start feeling the tempo, and it's
Mm,
just kind of like I was on the edge a little bit, because like that's what I want to say with you as well, because I don't have a huge amount to add to the music except for the fact that I really liked it, because I'm not musically like well versed with
inclined.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah, so but I think like one of the things I want to say to you is like I felt this was more horror-y
Yeah.
than the first Oxenfree. Like it's like when we talk about Alan Wake 2 coming out, I love the fact that they've just gone full swing into horror in that game, because it feels like Alan
Mm,
Wake was always meant to be a natural horror game. Same with Oxenfree a little bit. I think like you kind of want to keep it a little bit more mystery thriller horror, but I feel like they
yeah.
seem to inject more horror into this game, because there were moments in the game where I like I even did this. I was like, jump back. I was like,
Yeah.
oh whoa. I was like, I didn't expect that actually. I was like,
Yeah,
kind of,
there's a lot more and I think that it comes with that sense of urgency too, because you're trying to get to this mission right?
Yeah,
You're trying to like make sure that this is for the fate of humanity. So that's why you're so scared. That's why it makes it more horror. Whereas first Oxenfree was more a mystery thriller because you're just trying to find out the secrets of the island. You know, you're
yeah.
just trying to find out what's going on here. Whereas there are stakes involved in Oxenfree 2. So I think that's why Scientific it made it more like sense of urgency music and a lot more synthy horror, but still in the sense of scientific.
Yeah.
So I think the music really matched up with the game in this one.
No, it really did. I like the way that it accommodated things and just fit in well. Like it's just again like Oxenfree doesn't need to change the wheels that much. Like it's already
Mm-mm.
got a really solid formula, so it's like this kind of stuff just feels natural and it adds to that. I wanted to ask you as well the premise of the game as well because we went
Yes,
in blind as well. Like I really went in blind at this point because I was like I was kind of like maybe I should
I
pick up,
went
maybe I
in
shouldn't.
semi cold. Like
Okay,
I went in refrigerator temperature.
I went in pretty much completely blind. I like saw one or two things and I kind of completely disregarded it, and then I went in pretty much almost blind because like, okay,
Yeah,
I'm close to release, I'm buying it and playing it. What did you think? Because you're more again, you're more the
yeah.
Oxenfree aficionado here. What? How did you feel about the premise of the game?
I will
Without
say
spoilers,
that
obviously.
not spoilers. No, like I said, I wish what I wanted from the game was more of just like an expansion novel.
Yeah.
You know, more of like lore based. I wanted a lot more like we're finding out more about the lore of Oxenfree.
Hmm.
Whereas what we got was more of the premise was just like not necessarily more lore, which we did get, but more of like how the sunken affects more than just Edwards Island.
Yeah.
You know, how the sunken are a much more powerful entity than we can ever imagine. And that goes more into lore, but I think the premise made it a lot more urgent. So I think going into it, I wish I like set my expectations to a realistic, like, hey, this is what the game is, which
Hmm.
is like the sunken is bigger than we can imagine rather than like this is going to be more lore, you know. If
Yeah.
you go into it in that way, I think you'll be not so disappointed because the premise is very much it is Oxenfree like in another universe.
Mm.
So I enjoyed it, but I think I need like 3 more playthroughs for me to really appreciate it because I went into it in a mindset of like, oh, we're gonna like get a whole deep dive into Sunken. We're gonna get a whole deep dive into like Edward's Island. We're gonna like see all the characters that we should have seen. We're gonna meet, you know, some people. You know, I don't want
Hmm.
to go into spoilers, but um, I was only disappointed with that, but that was because my own expectations. But what the game is, as the premise is, I'm very much satisfied with what I got.
Yeah, I don't think what you said is out the question as well because I feel like they could have done that and then done
Mm,
this as like a second chapter of the game, and then they do a trilogy, obviously, like a third game, and then what we get in the other parts of this game could have been part of that trilogy. So I don't
yeah.
think it's completely against it. I did like the premise in terms of like the fact that they've gone with a different character and they've kind of like
Mm,
um trying to spoil this as well.
I
No,
know. Yeah.
I like the fact that they went with a new character. I like the fact that they went with a slightly new direction, and they were kind of like willing to rejig their formula here and there. Um, I think I agree with you. I think that there was more history. I think like because the stuff with the sunken with is she called Myrene Adler? Why am I saying
Maggie.
Myrene? Maggie. I want to say
Yeah,
Myrene.
Maggie.
It's like the most like Victorian thing. Yeah, Myrene.
Yeah,
Maggie
Maggie
Adler.
Adler.
I don't know why I
Yeah.
said Myrene. Maggie Adler. You saw it as well. The fear of my voice. I was like Myrene. Maggie Adler. Um, all that stuff reminds me, and it makes me really feel like nostalgic about the stuff with Assassin's Creed. So the very early
Yes.
Assassin's Creed legend, when it's stuff about the Apple of Eden, the Orders, the Templars,
Hmm.
that's where it's like, oh, we're going
It's
conspiracy level
intriguing.
10. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
conspiracy level 101, and then it's like you give so much time and creativity and imagination to like the developers, the fans, etc. Obviously, you need to reel it in because we saw what happened with Assassin's Creed when you go on for it too long. It went into
Yeah.
all kinds of like messy territories, but um generally speaking, I really like the way that they handled certain parts of it. I probably would have preferred had they done what you said, where it's like we had more exposition on more of the kind of like that kind of stuff
Like,
that's
how
more
did Maggie Adler really keep away The
Yeah.
sunken, like you get those from the Adler letters in Oxenfree.
Yeah.
Like that is your lore, but I wish we had more like a hands-on, like how did Maggie do it? You know, we
Yeah.
didn't really get too much of that. I think we should go more into spoiler territory now because
I tell you what, we will. Just one
yes,
more thing I want to talk about was the actual evolution of the game in terms of like just the gameplay as well. Like it's
yeah,
just because like one thing I'll say as well, Adam said it to me best as well off podcast before we were talking messages, was like he's like, I need to play this more. And I'm like, yeah, I need
yeah,
to play it more because I'm already intrigued enough with replay value to go back and play it, because I've only played it once and I'm like, I made questionable decisions here and there with like
yeah.
certain characters and like said something, but it's like for me, I'm like very much in the set mindset like I need to go back and play a bit more, because the replay value of the game, again, it's like little intricate evolutions. Like the puzzles were made a little bit more
Oh yeah.
intriguing. Like the mechanics of like sorting out a puzzle are a bit more easy, because again, it's Netflix is financing this. Netflix is a publisher for it, and it's like they want to make games that are easy for anyone to play. And it's like I feel like if you went on Netflix and you decided to play games for some reason, you would play Oxenfree, because it's like this is actually a really nice game. But it's like fine tweaks to it. So it's like even the rock climbing parts as well. It was like there was a bit more kind of like they'd basically done what I'd hoped Telltale had done, like when we went for the Walking Dead 1 to like the Walking Dead 2 season 2. It's like I wanted them to do the Walking Dead season 1, then go straight to the Walking Dead season 4 in terms of evolution of gameplay, because it felt like a bit more evolved, where it's like refined. It doesn't need to change the wheel, it doesn't need to be like that. It's not that kind of game. It just had extra little bits of detail. So you had like the radio station, you had the walkie-talkie you could use, then you had the opportunity to like climb rocks. There was like a great segment in there where it's like you're climbing up stuff as well, like again trying to tell us spoilers, but it was really enjoyable for that. So I was really keen on how they evolved the game.
Oh yeah, no, it's just like, and that's the thing. It felt like this was an actual game, whereas the first Oxenfree had game elements, like even trying to like fix like a time warp, right? In the first game, you had the whole tape recorder where you just wind it up a little bit. But this game, you have this weird, wonky machine puzzle that you have to like make shapes out of like wavelengths and all that. It's wild, dude. But yeah, no, like the rock climbing, like you said, the actual like walkie-talkie versus your radio, and then there's all these different things that you can acquire in terms of gameplay. That I think this feels more of like, okay, this is much more hands-on, whereas Oxenfree is a lot more casual. Whereas this one, there's a good game involved, you know?
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I just wanted to ask you one more thing, because we'll go into stories. Obviously, I know you're etching up, and I think there's a lot to talk about that. Do you, when you play these kind of games, because obviously this is very much in the same vein as like a Telltale-esque game, like the Strange One-esque, where it's like choices have impact on the story in certain kind of ways. You have like how it affects your relationship with characters. How do you usually play it? Do you play it as like you as a person, or do you just like pick choices? Like, are you more empathetic towards people? Are you more understanding? How do you approach it? Because I always see these like in the cruel responses, and I'm like, I can't do that. So that's not
No,
me.
I 100%ed the first Oxenfree,
Yeah,
because there's one that you have to do with everybody needs to hate you. You know,
yeah.
you have to make everybody hate you. But when talking about my first playthrough of these games, I always go for how would the character react in
Mm-hmm.
this way, not how I would react. That might be because I'm an amateur writer, and I always think about like, you know, when I'm writing a character, I'm always thinking like, yeah, but why would this character do this? Well, not why wouldn't I do it, but like, why wouldn't this character,
Yeah.
with everything that they have, how they are as a character, how would they, you know? If I was playing a like a pure RPG, oh, it's me, you know, because I'm role playing as a person, and of course I'm going to make my choices. But with a game like this, is more story narrative based. I want to feel out the character more.
Yeah.
Like with the first game, Alex, you know, she had clear motive. She had a clear a trauma, right? So why would
Mm-hmm.
you do A, B, or C? In this game, you get to know these characters deeply from their own dialogue. So when my first playthrough is, I'm always like, okay, what would this character say? What would this character do? And then the next playthroughs, I'm like, okay, what kind of path would I go on if I make this choice? You know, but
Mm-hmm.
the first playthrough is always like, okay, how would this character do this?
No, that's yeah, okay. I just wanted to know because I'm a people pleaser. I'm like making all the nice
Yeah.
decisions and trying to keep good relationships. Sometimes I have like that little snappy phrase
Yeah.
that I'll put in through Riley, and I'm like, actually, it's yeah. I know what you mean. I just wanted to understand that because I've always wondered that how people play their first playthrough of like these kind of games.
No,
It's like, are you like
definitely.
really nice? Are you like trying to like? Do you just like go straight up and be abrasive? Like I'm always like nice with them. I only do the
No,
angry
definitely
responses
Riley's
when it.
one of those like arm's length people. She's
Yeah.
definitely an arm's length, like don't like stay away from me kind of people. So I made choices based off of that. Like she's definitely like, hey, you can come close if you're worth it, but for the most part, arm's length, buddy. You know
Mm,
that
okay.
that's where she is.
Okay. Interesting. So we'll move into the spoiler cast territory. This is your final warning. Already, we've probably ruined things from Oxenfree 1, but if you're
What would
watching
you
a
rate it
review
out
for
of 5? By the way, let's do this review. Like, what would you rate it out of
what
5?
the overall game,
The overall game.
it's hard though. It's hard to say because
Yeah.
I haven't done the other playthroughs.
It is really hard because, like you said, like I need like a couple more playthroughs for me to be like, I want to say it's a 4 out of 5 for me, but like with more playthroughs, it could be a 5 out of 5. You know, there's so many other paths that I can
Yeah,
go on. There's one site that gave it a 2.5 out of 5
I
or a
believe that was
2.
Graham's Radar because I'm literally just searching this up now to
Yeah,
look at
Games
it.
Radar, I believe, gave it a 2. And I'm
Uh,
like, I see their points of not liking it. Like, I understand where they're coming from. But I'm like, it's not a 2. It's definitely not a 2. Most things are giving it a 7 out of 10. They're giving it like a 3 or a 4 out of 5, you know? And I'm like, I agree with that score. Um, but I think you need to really get into the depths of this game to make it a 5 out of 5. But for right now, in the first playthrough, I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5. Like for me.
4 out of 5.
Mm.
Hmm. So I'm just trying to pull it through. I usually keep one of those tweets where it's like where it has all the review scores, and I can't believe I didn't bookmark it. But um, yeah, so I pulled up Games Radar's review. So this was they put a disappointing sequel in quotation marks in the headline.
Well, who's
It's by
that?
John Bailey's.
Oh,
2 stars he gave it out of 5. So just read his verdict. Obviously, we're just going to read the
oh, is
verdict,
this
not
Games
the.
Radar?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So this is Games Radar's. Uh, John Bailey's 2 stars out of 5, and I just wanted to read what they put because I thought it'd be interesting to say it. So they put Oxenfree II is a disappointing sequel that takes the flawed gem of a first game and rubs out almost everything that made it shine. A reasonable plot and neat audio-visual effects find themselves submerged under ponderous navigation, flat characters, and overly regimented dialogue. So the pros they gave it were a strong audio-visual identity, some interesting plot turns, and links to the original. And then cons, which was less naturalistic dialogue system than in the first game, slow navigation, and too much backtracking. Main
I agree
characters are
with that
really
one.
dull.
I agree with there's too much backtracking in this one. I will agree with that point. There's a lot of
Yeah,
backtracking.
I agree with it in the sense like the map is a lot bigger, obviously. So they've obviously
Yeah.
accommodated for that. And there's like I think there was a side mission which I got to towards the end of the game that I didn't do because I was like, I'll do this in my next playthrough. So I'm like, at this point, it's late at night. I just want to get this game done and just finish it.
Was it the backpack?
No,
Okay. Just want to make sure.
no, it wasn't the battle hack. But uh, in essence as well, it's only 5 hours. So I think that the backtracking is like kind of like an essence of like you need to extend the playing time. So I'm pros and cons with that as well. The argument. Main characters are really dull. I don't agree with that.
I don't agree.
I
The
do not
only
agree
one
with that.
the only one I agree with is the backtracking. The other ones I'm just like, huh?
Yeah.
Like dull characters and less realistic dialogue? Like
So
what?
one more as well. The last one was the paranormal elements are too familiar, which okay, I agree with, but again, it's
What does he
Oxenfree.
mean by that? You know,
I don't.
too familiar. It's just like that's the whole point. We're trying to find out more of the sunken. If they were anything
Yeah,
other than the sunken, that would just derive them as their character because the sunken is a character. It's not like this. It is an antagonist, but it's not like an element of the game. You
yeah,
know, the sunken are characters. They are the antagonists. They have to
yeah,
remain the same in terms of like being a character. But you know,
yeah.
what do I know? I'm just an amateur writer, so I don't know anything.
Well, the paranormal elements are too familiar. Just sound like the kind of thing you'd say about Assassin's Creed 1, where it's like, oh, actually, in Assassin's Creed 2, we've revisited the Apple of Eden, we've revisited all this stuff. It's like, I don't agree with that. I really don't agree with the main characters being dull. I really like Riley and Jacob, especially their chemistry together. Works really well. Slow navigation,
And
backtracking
that's
again.
the thing.
Oh, go on, sorry.
I was going to even say, like, it goes into what we were talking about in StrangeCast, where Michelle Coe said that, like, a red flag if you don't like Karen from Life is Strange 2. It's the same kind of point where it's saying that you're not understanding them as characters. You'd say that they're dull, but you haven't really gone beneath the surface of them. You haven't understood why Riley is the way she is. You haven't understood why Jacob is called gingerbread. You really haven't gone into the depths of these characters. You haven't really taken time to get to know them, so you think of them as dull or just unimportant. Now, is Maria dull a little bit? But like Maria's like the only character I would say is like dull. Even Nick, I don't really really care about Nick.
I don't
care.
Nick. Oh,
man,
we'll come on to Nick in a little bit. I'm gonna deal your Nick beef in a little bit, me and G.
But like even him, I don't find him to be a dull character. I just didn't care, because I live in America. You live in Britain. In America, that type of character is like one a dime a dozen is what they say here. Yeah, a dime a dozen. That's like such an American thing to be like, oh, I'm an amateur sailor, and I'm like, okay, dude. Oh no, a retired sailor. I'm like, okay, dude, that's great. So it's like they're a dime a dozen out here, whereas like in Britain, like, oh, so interesting. Oh, what stories do you have? But over here, it's like, great, another one. Thanks.
Another one, yeah. Fair enough. Fair enough. So I thought here's the funny part. When I saw Jacob for the first time, I thought he was going to remind me of Ryan from Life is Strange True Colors. That he's going to be the character, which I don't want him to be there. So I don't need him. He's not going to serve the purpose.
Oh yeah.
But again, prove me wrong, as I actually warmed up to him very much in the game. So I really don't agree with the emphasis on the point where it's like the main characters are really. I think they're great characters, especially Riley. I think Riley's got a really, really well told story, and other characters a bit more questionable. We'll come into that in the next section. If I was going to score this game, just off what you told me right now, I would. If we do like a 10-point scale, like 0.5s up to thingy, I would probably give this game a 4, a very strong 4 so far. I would give the original Oxenfree. Yeah, I would give the original Oxenfree a 4.5 out of 5.
Yes.
You know how much I love a 4.5 score as well, but I would give the original Oxenfree a 4.5 out of 5, and I would give this a 4 based on, again, one playthrough. Like I really want to go back. Yeah, really want to go back and play. Because as you said, I understand when you put 60 hours into the first Oxenfree, because it's like it's one of those games you really need to go back, and when you get invested in it, you're like, actually, this game is like top dollar. It's like I really want to.
Because you only did the one playthrough Oxenfree. You didn't do the continued timeline, did you?
Well, actually, I was wrong about that. I did, because I got the platinum and I went back and looked at everything, and I was like, actually, I did do the playthrough where I did the entire thing with Alex not talking, and then went and did the continuous timeline thing. So I actually did do it, and then when I went back and played it the night before Oxenfree II, it all started coming back to me. I was like, hang on a minute. I was like, why did I tell Adam that I've not done this? I was like, actually, I have done this as well. But no, I think I put like 30 hours into the original Oxenfree easily around about that time frame. So it was like, because I did multiple playthroughs of it, it's just kind of like being a wash from my mind for some reason. But no, I did play it. So no, that's that. Adam, do you know what? Let's get into the Spoilercast section. So this is your final warning, Spoilercast section. We are going full territory here. We're going to blow off the story. We're going to do everything else in between it. You have been warned. Go and play Oxenfree. And by the time you jump to the ending, if you want to listen to the outro, there will be a timestamp there as well. So Adam, I want to start off with one thing as well, because you decided to tweet at one Luke Bagados and Michelle Coe, Life is Strange developers.
Just one picture. One picture.
Because I know Michelle is a very big fan of Oxenfree. And I know that Oxenfree is an Easter egg in Life is Strange 2. And you decided to drop them a tweet. And by the way, Michelle and Luke work at Don't Know Montreal. They worked on Life is Strange series. And Adam, I noticed it when I was scrolling through Twitter. I'd sent them an image from Oxenfree too.
Yeah.
So I think you really enjoyed that Easter egg we got very early on in the game.
Where Jacob says to Riley, like, what, like, why are you worried about tornadoes? Or no, I think either way, one of them says,
I think it's like tornadoes don't come every like 20 years or something in Oregon.
Yeah, in Oregon. Oregon only gets tornadoes every once in 20 years. I'm like, I see what you're doing here. Like we all see.
Yeah.
It's just like because I don't think we ever officially got in the first Oxenfree what state it was set in. We just know it's like the Pacific Northwest. We don't really know.
Mm,
But then they said Oregon finally,
yeah.
and then they said tornadoes don't happen in Oregon for 20 years. I'm like, that's such a Life is Strange Easter egg right there. That's such a Life is Strange Easter egg. You can't even hide it at that point. Because I believe Chloe says that, like, why would we get tornadoes? We don't get tornadoes in Oregon.
Yeah.
Something like that. So, but no, it's funny, dude, that when they said that, I was like, yeah, that's straight up an Easter egg.
Yeah, which
But no,
is really
that's funny.
cool, by the way, as well. It's a very subtle Easter egg, and I do wonder if Oxenfree II will make an appearance in life in Don't Know Montreal's next game as well, because it's still
Maybe.
far out. I know that they really like
Yeah.
it. You know, it wasn't too far off that we got that little Easter egg in Life is Strange 2 of Oxenfree 1, which I can now enjoy, obviously having played Oxenfree for your recommendation.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be surprised if they do something like that. I know that I imagine we'll see Luke and Michelle play at some point, but it was really nice that you saw that. And I was like, actually, yeah. When they said it was at Oxenfree 2, it's in Oregon. I was like, actually, hang on a minute. I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
I was like,
I don't think they even
actually,
said that in the first game. I'm pretty sure.
I think they don't either. I don't, or they don't make a big emphasis of it. But I don't really remember the mention of Oregon because obviously it'd be like, oh, it's Life is Strange. This is so cool. It's like in this,
Yeah,
you
I
know,
would have
but it's
like
just
noticed
not.
that, like, oh, it's Oregon. But no, they just really just say the Pacific Northwest, which
Yeah,
is Washington State, Oregon, um Northern California partially. So, but yeah, they never really say which states or like where it's based off of. I would have based it off of like Washington State, but no, they said
yeah.
Oregon. I was like, interesting. But yeah, no, it's funny. I like that a lot. Like there's like a certain thing, there's a certain Easter egg about that. But yeah, no, yeah, the spoiler territory here is just I want to say one thing.
I'm going to give you the because the story and everything else has to go through you at this point. You're the bigger Oxenfree fan than
Yeah.
me, and I want to give you a point of lead in every part of this conversation. So where do you want to start?
I wish we got more time with Maggie Adler. I
Yeah,
wish we could go back in time and speak more to Maggie Adler,
yeah,
and it just didn't happen. We got one official line from Maggie. One. That's it.
yeah,
And it was bury me where no one can find me, I believe it was
yeah,
the line. And then the second time we see Maggie Adler she was just like an imagination from the sunken. Like it
yeah,
wasn't actually Maggie Adler. And I'm like, oh my God, why couldn't we? Like in this game, you can go back in time. Like you can go through a ripple effect and go back in time. And the past was so great. I wish, oh God, dude, I wish we could have gone back and talked to Maggie. Like that's it. That's all I wanted. That's what would have made this a 5 out of 5 game. If we could go back in time and talk to Maggie Adler and just like her giving us warnings from the past, that would have blown my mind, dude. But we didn't get that, unfortunately. We only got the one official line, and the second time we meet her, it was just an entity, like it was just an image.
yeah.
I'm kind of disappointed about that. I'm a little disappointed about that.
Well, I get what you're saying as well because like when you have this kind of like the effects of the game where you can like rip open tears and then go
Yeah.
through like to different points, and as well like later in the stage of the game where you're in the mine section, you have to like rip
Yeah.
open a tear to get into like back in time.
Bro,
It reminded me.
no, I'm not kidding you. I said that I knew it would be the wrong answer, but I was just like, take me back to 1990. And I just put it in for 1990. I was like, take me back. And my wife is like, she's sitting beside me, like, you weren't even born yet. I'm like, exactly, take me back before I was born. But yeah, no, like that's the thing. You can set time back in like the mines. Yeah, like you can go back and like that's such a great gameplay. I didn't want to say that in the review section because it is a spoiler of like the kind of gameplay you can have. But yeah, you can go back in time in this game. But we didn't get to see Maggie Adler. What the fuck?
Yeah, see like that because that kind of like jumping through the tears in different times. It reminds me very similar of Bioshock, Infinite, and then also like even when you meet Maggie as well, she's like I don't know why when she's in when you're in the tower with her and she's like just up there, she gives me very big Dr. Tenenbaum vibes from the first Bioshock. So it's like when I see, or even like in the Luteces in Bioshock Infinite, she very much reminds me of this kind of like Victorian-esque figure, and it's like, yeah, I get it. I wish I would have had more time with her, and it's like, or even like with the first Bioshock, and I'm spoiling Bioshock here as well, like when you have Atlas on the radio with you all the time, it's like I wish she would have been like your point of reference or something.
Yeah.
Where it's like if you have to get rid of Evelyn, it's Maggie Adler who's talking to you, but she's talking through a different time and she's guiding you through X amount of situation or this kind of situation. I get what you mean, because it's like you'd built so much about Maggie Adler up in the first game. It's like then you kind of get to the point with Oxenfree II, you kind of just want a bit more with her, don't you?
Yeah, I did. Or just Anna even. Like I wanted to see where Anna died. You know, like I wanted to see
Yeah.
like what that whole effect was. But that's what I mean by like lore. I wanted more Oxenfree lore, but we didn't really get the lore I was looking for. And unfortunately that was the case, but unfortunately that wasn't the artistic direction that they wanted to go.
Yeah, of course.
Just because that I wanted one thing from Oxenfree 2 doesn't mean that was the right choice artistically. And we didn't get any Anna or Maggie Adler kind of vibe here, or any kind of like situation in that. That's the only thing I was really disappointed in. I was just like, oh man. And then like I said, we don't really get the Sunken until around Act 3. Like the Sunken are present in Act 1 and 2, but it's more about the parentage. It's more about the cult, the parentage in Act 1 and 2. And then Act 3 is where the Sunken are just like, you think you can mess with us? And that's where it starts to really get interesting. But no, we didn't really get that. I appreciate that there was a cult. And sorry, my back hurts, so I'm just like kind of leaning back and forth.
Different setup.
Yeah, I don't have my office chair where I can like lean back and talk. I'm on my couch, so I have to lean forward into the mic. But yeah, no, it's just yeah, I was just more expecting more from the Sunken and more communication from the Sunken, but we got more of parentage and the cult. Not to say I shouldn't care about the cult, because I thought that was an interesting dynamic. And especially a dynamic where the Sunken, she wasn't doing this as a part of parentage. She was doing this because the Sunken knew she was part of a cult, and the cult wasn't even a part of the Sunken. Like the Sunken just saw that, like, oh, this person is a cult person, we can trick this person into freeing us, you know. So I thought that was a good dynamic, you know. But yeah, that's where I got disappointed. I was like, I wanted more Maggie Adler. I wanted more Maggie Adler and the Sunken and Anna, but we didn't get it.
Yeah, I feel like you can argue that as well, because like as you said, like all the other characters that start popping up in the game, you're like, I could get rid of these characters, or like minimalize their roles a bit more, and then bring in Maggie Adler, bring in the Sunken, because it feels like it was building up to that in Oxenfree 1, where it's like we're going to start getting more answers about these people, who they are, what they are, etc. You built so much extensive lore about these characters. It's time for a little bit of a payoff, but I think like maybe obviously if we get an Oxenfree 3, then we might get a bit more. Maybe that's where they're going to go with the exposition.
The developers did say that they wanted to make more games in this universe, so
yeah,
Oxenfree 3 is not out of the question. Now, this game doesn't really set up an Oxenfree 3.
No.
Though. But I would argue that the first Oxenfree didn't really set up an Oxenfree 2. Like it didn't really set up an Oxenfree 2 either. Especially at the ending of Oxenfree, where if you do the continued timeline and you can warn Alex, don't go to the island, and you get the cutscene where they're at Funnies and they just like drive off. You know, they don't even go to the island. I would argue like we didn't expect Oxenfree 2 after that. So for me to say there's no room for Oxenfree 3, like that's out of the question. Like there's always room for Oxenfree 3.
Yeah.
So
they could just take the lore and stuff, so the Sunken, Maggie Adler, etc., use that as the background stuff, and then just set maybe with new characters completely different. Because obviously, one of the things I really want to talk to you was obviously about Alex.
Yes. Who, my back hurts, so I'm leaning back.
So Alex obviously makes her return. I don't know how I feel about Alex, Adam. I'm going to be honest with you. I think they've almost a little bit ruined the character based on. I'm going to
fight you. I'm fighting you on this one.
But doesn't it feel like this is like
my back might hurt, but I'm fighting you?
Because so one of the things I really appreciate with like games in the past of like say for example when you play Pokemon Gold, one of the big surprises was when you get to the end of the game You
Mm-hmm.
climb Mount Silver, and you fight Pokemon Trainer Red. And the entire kind of
Yes.
like mythology is that this is the guy you built in the first game, and you're playing game.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't have any dialogue, so it's like it's he's universal to everyone. It's not just your character; it's everyone's Pokemon Red. It's like everyone shares the same journey with you. And then you get to Alex, and the way that Alex
Mm-hmm.
acts in this game, I'm
Yes.
a bit like, it doesn't feel like she's really the character that I had played in the first Oxenfree, based on her choices. She seems to
Okay,
be a
so
bit different
that's
in.
that's where me and you's playthrough is different because, like we established, you're playing in a way of like that is you. You
Mm,
are Alex. I'm playing in a way of just like, no, Alex would act in such a way because this is her as a
mm,
character. So I think that's where like me and you differ on that way because you see more Alex of just like, no, I wouldn't do that. Like that's not the Alex that I built. Whereas I'm seeing her like, no, this is where Alex is his character, and where Alex was trapped in eternity in the void for 5 years. And we've established that she can see like well beyond in the future. Like she was even seeing uh Olivia, where she said Olivia's
mm.
future is cloudy. And you're like, what do you mean cloudy? Like, it's just that. There's no way I can explain it. It's just cloudy. Your future with Rex is going to be like there's a wall that you can't get around. Max. Oh goodness. Um, Alex. Um, Alex has been in a void where she can see beyond time, and that can drive a character to become different. You know, she has awoken from reality to say that like this might be a perfect world with perfect memories, but this isn't a reality. She's become more wise. She's become more jaded about what is perfection. So she has grown as a human being and as a character. So the way she's acting in this is more of like Alex grown, Alex not depressed, but Alex kind of in a regret mode. So I would say that like yeah, she's a bit callous, but because she's seen so much in 5 years, you know what I mean? So her as a character, it's grown and it's different, you know. It has to be different because oh my god, the line at the end where she said like I miss the feeling of missing my brother. Like she
Yeah,
misses the feeling of being in agony that her brother is dead. Um oh god, like in the last lines, dude, the last lines with the boat when you're going to Edwards Island and Riley starts to say to Alex, like, hey, sorry to tell you, kiddo, but growing up isn't all it's cracked up to be. And Alex is
yeah,
like, easier for someone who's done it. You know, easier
yeah.
said for someone who's actually done it. But she's 16, trapped in a void. And it's just like she should be 23 at this point, like 20, 22, 23. Um, but yeah, no, I just thought, man, that's wild. No, I disagree.
Maybe,
I think Alex as the character is better.
maybe I don't think ruined is a harsh word, because I kind of blurred out that it's kind of like I have a weird perception of her. She reminds me a little bit of Luke Skywalker in The Last Jedi, when he turns
Yeah.
up and it's like, wait, this character is so different from the one that we knew, and it's like the way that you're
Mm-hmm.
taking him in direction, he's just never going to turn into that character. And it felt
Mm.
that way a bit with Alex. It's like, because one of the things that I feel with that is like, say if you made a direct sequel to like Life is Strange 1, and then you
Yeah.
decide to make a canon ending and you went off that one, you'd basically shatter all expectations of what you'd expect with Max Caulfield, because
Mm.
it wouldn't just be Max as Max as Universal. She'd have to take one direction and become something that you didn't, and the character you'd spent all that time with and built all the decisions on no longer exists at that point, because then you'd lose all sense of identity with them. I feel like that's
Mm.
what happened with my Alex. It's like I spent all that time with Alex and making all these decisions. She's her own person, but Oxenfree 1 gave me that kind of like pleasure of like
Mhm.
having, I'm going to make her who she is. She's going to have
Yeah.
this kind of decision. She's going to have this kind of decision. And when we get to this one, and this one's a little bit more cold and callous, I'm a bit like, and so that kind of feel like awkward moment where I'm sitting there on the bus stop
Yeah.
with Riley, and she's like, do you blame me? I'm like, I kind of do blame you here. But it's like, I
Yeah.
don't want to blame you because you're not my Alex. And I feel like that was a
Yeah.
bit of a difficulty part with it. I was like, hang on a minute. It's
Yeah.
like, how has this happened? Like, in itself, I thought when she went into the void in the first game, or like with that entire void situation, like, how were her friends in it?
Because she tried to make a swap, right?
Right.
But they were all within it, you know, because at the end where like at the end where you're going through the photo and you're like, oh well, I'm gonna take some time off, and then like it goes like they're all going back to Edwards Island, right?
Right.
Plus the Sunken are taking, like, they've already taken their toll on everybody. They of course took Clarissa, like Clarissa was gone. Actually, I don't think Nona was ever. No, she was. Nona was possessed in Maggie Aller's house.
Yeah.
In the first game, so they were all like possessed by the Sunken at one point in the game,
Yeah.
and that's the problem. And I wanted answers on Jonas, dude. I wanted to know if Jonas was a Sunken in the beginning, because there's so many theories about Jonas being like a Sunken before he met Alex. We
Yeah.
never got an answer. Dude. Because for one thing, Jonas, in like it actually said, like, Jonas means oppressor, right? And it's like, yeah, it means oppressor. If you turn on subtitles, right, the Sunken, like the radio voices, are always in green, and Jonas's color is green. Right? So we always think about that. Jonas is always pushing Alex to go where the Sunken are going, and there's so many different theories that, like, even one person said, like, Jonas also means like messenger, right? Not just oppressor, but also messenger. So what if he was a messenger of the Sunken? You know, there's so many theories, and we just didn't get any answers. It's like, I'm like, come on, make me right for once. But I think that's where I'm like disappointed in the game. Like, I wanted answers for my own. And I think that's why you're disappointed with Alex too, because you wanted answers for your Alex. You know what I mean? But it just wasn't Alex, and my theories were not my theories. And I think that's where people are going to find this game.
Expectation sets in.
Yeah, I think, and I was telling Liz this, my wife Liz, like, when I was playing it, I was in the middle of Act 2, and I looked at her, I was like, this is going to be a controversial game. Like, is this straight up going to be a divisive game?
Yeah.
I wouldn't say divisive. I would say just say controversial in terms of Oxenfree friends, because it is like, we have so many expectations for Oxenfree 2, and we're not getting it. I think that's why I say I need more time with this game for me to appreciate it, because the first playthrough, I'm just like, I'm slightly disappointed. Not like extremely like, oh, this is the worst, but more of like, I had expectations going into this game, and I need more time to get to know what this game is, you know? But I think, like, Alex coming out cold and callous, I kind of expected, because
did you?
Alex is essentially a cold person. Her brother died, you know, like not even a year before Oxenfree. So her brother died. Her parents get a divorce. She has a new stepbrother. Everything's changing in her life, so she is a bit cold as a character. And in this game, she's trying to protect everybody else from the Sunken. But no, I did want to say to Alex that, like, oh no, I blame the hell out of you. I did want to tell her that, but like, she's been through so much. I'm like, no, I don't hate you. Go on your way. I will say this, that when they all woke up, oh, by the way, I freaked out when you were on the bench and like all 5 characters started walking on. I'm like,
I was like,
what?
Yeah.
I was like, they're all free. And then they just said, like, oh, we got to go to school, Alex. I'm like, wait, are we back in time 5 years? But then Evelyn started talking about, like, oh, thanks for putting up all the things for the birds, blah, blah, blah. I'm like,
is that they've lost 5 years, essentially.
But then if they go back home, and then she said, like, Alex said, like, oh yeah, my mom texted me that I forgot to take out the trash. I'm like, so her mom didn't know that she was gone for 5 years? I'm like, wait, what time are we in? Like, what year are we in? Is it back 5 years, or did everybody go on pause on Kamina? Like, what's going on here? How did everybody miss 5 years?
That's true.
You know, and just like everybody goes about their day. And
maybe it's one of those things where it's like the void is different for time.
Yeah.
So it feels like 5 minutes for everyone, for you, but it's like 5 years for X amount of people.
Yeah. That's what I mean. I need more time with this game. I need more time to sit with it and like come up with my own theories, because the first playthrough, I have more questions than answers from the first game. So, and I didn't even collect all the letters. So, like the first game, of
No, I
course, I
didn't.
collected all the Adler letters. Yeah, I
I missed
collected
one.
5. You missed
Really,
one.
missed
Oh,
one.
wow. No, I only collected like 5. Oh, are you
Yeah.
talking about the first game?
No, the second game.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
First
yeah. No, no,
playthrough,
no.
no
I
guide.
only collected
Just missed
5.
one.
Yeah. Damn. No, I definitely want to like get more into that. But yeah, I need to like come up with my own theories for this game. But for right now, I think we all expected answers from Oxenfree, and we didn't get many answers. We more just got questions from it, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, because I think because obviously again this is my first time talking to it, so like my perception of Alex is like stuck on that one playthrough. Maybe I play it again, like I might have a different feeling with it, but I felt very like cold towards because like even when you make the final
Yeah.
decision between you and you and Olivia, and she's just standing there at a distance, I'm like,
Yeah.
are you not going to pipe up and get in there? Maybe because you helped cause this problem.
Yeah.
But
Oh, who did you
like
send into the void?
Olivia.
Yeah, I sent Olivia. I'm like, bye.
Yeah, yeah.
Like your future's
Yeah.
cloudy. You get to be with your parents. Bye. It's just like,
Yeah, exactly. I ain't putting Rex through that. Like, I'm not doing that. I just felt like it was if she had been the third person in there where you could do the decision, then it would have been a bit more difficult because it's like between me and Olivia, I'm like, well, you're going in there, so I'm not going in
Yeah.
there. Like, I'm pregnant with a kid. It's like, nah, not a chance. But like as I said, I think like for me, I wanted more time with Alex as well. This is the difficulty because like where
Yes.
my perception is, where I said like I
Yeah.
think she's been quote unquote ruined, or it's kind of like my perception is different with it. It's like you get her at such a late stage in the game, also when she makes her physical, like her quote unquote physical manifestation, and it's from that. It's like every interaction's callous, every like opportunity is a bit like
Mhm.
I'm kind of like sitting there a bit confused about how I'm interacting with it, and it's like when I'm sitting in the bus stop and she's like, "Do you blame me for everything?" I'm like, yeah, I kind of do at this point.
Yeah.
It's like I'm not, I don't have that much empathy
Yeah.
for you understanding why you did it and what you did. It's like you just came across as very a little bit antagonistic at times. I was like,
Mhm.
I don't really like this kind of approach. But again, like it was just based on that one playthrough that we've done so far, and it's like it's still so much unpackage with it. But like as I said, like I freaked
Yeah.
out when you go back onto the island. That was quite cool. Like, when you get on the boat, go back to
Yeah.
the
Going back
island,
to
like
Edwards. I'm like,
yeah,
yeah.
and all the little kind
I
of like
tried to
little
take the
things where you
ferry. I tried to take the ferry.
sorry,
And he's like, "Oh, the controls are a little bit advanced." I'm like, "I want to take the ferry." It's like,
yeah.
I don't
Did
care. I
you
want the
did you
ferry.
take Jacob with
Um,
you?
no. Once the dog came back, I was like, "Take care of your dog."
Oh,
Like, I don't
yeah, I did
care.
the same. And
Yeah.
that was the minority decision on the PlayStation one that I did. It was like 10%. Less than
Really?
10% did that. Yeah, it was the majority of people
Wow.
took Jacob to the island after that entire interaction. I was like, how am I in the minority? I thought more people were going to leave it when Athena turned up. I was like, look at her, she's adorable. It's like
Yeah.
I
Once
can't.
Athena, and then and then he tied her up to a pole. I was like, "What the hell? No, you stay here with your dog." And then like in my head, I'm like, she's like, "It's too dangerous. You need to take care of your dog." I'm like, "Girl, you're pregnant. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah,
Dangerous?
because
Like, Riley, you're pregnant."
one of my
But
assumptions
no,
is that
I left Jacob because I was like, yeah,
yeah, because one of my assumptions is that Jacob might be one of the picked people you can pick if he's on the island with you. So it's like when who goes through the portal,
mm,
he could
oh
potentially be a
maybe,
choice at that point. So that's why I was thinking it because
yeah,
like maybe it makes it a bit more kind of difficult. Where it's like Jacob's like, I'm going to go through the portal then. And you're like, no, you got a dog, you can't leave. But he's like got his own reasons to go through the
you can't
portal.
leave. You got a dog, dude.
Yeah, can't
Yeah,
do that. So, um, but no, like as I said, like there's
mm,
more needs to be done, like in terms of playthrough. Maybe I changed my perception of Alex. I just kind of like really, really disconnected with Alex at that point. I think it's because of how canon, like how canon, how effective your choices are in the first Oxenfree. So I feel like the character I
mm,
wanted to come into Oxenfree 2 was the character I had kind of like attached myself to closely, rather than just kind of like Alex
yeah,
as the person that she is, but it's not the Alex I played as. So I completely agree with where you said that. Maybe it's my perception that's affected that. Um,
yeah,
but generally speaking, there were some great moments in that. I love the fact when you're in the house with Olivia and her cronies, and the house starts tilting, and it does this where
yes.
it's like starts
Oh,
rocking, and you're
yeah,
climbing up
and
the
then you have
ladder.
to
This is like when I was saying
climb
earlier in the
everything.
podcast.
Oh,
Yeah, when I was saying earlier in the
yeah,
podcast, it just felt like an elevated experience of Oxenfree. Actually,
yeah.
this is now like we're in sequel territory where we're being a bit more, we
Like
have
this
more
more
hands
of
on with.
action game. Yeah,
Yeah, so it has that kind of like nice balance. Like that's why like the genres kept flipping really well in terms of the pacing of the story as well. So it's like we have more
Mm,
horror here, we have more action thriller here, we have more mystery here. But I generally speaking, I really enjoyed like the characters. Like there was moments as well where it's like when you're with like Jacob and you're like standing there and she like
mm,
tells him that she's pregnant. It's like those are the kind of moments where it feels like the storytelling's so effective. It's like so effective, and it's like makes Riley a relatable character. I always think like Riley's the kind of character you wouldn't like because she just seems a bit like up her own self a little
yeah.
bit, like just kind of a personality. But she, very much won me over quite quickly into the game the more I was playing it. And then my boy Nick as well on the radio, like
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's like that's the thing. I think this game needs a few more playthroughs. Like I think
yeah,
expectations are now out the window. Like I'm fresh. Like I finally got what I know about this game. Like I know what this game is now. And I think that's where this game might be controversial. Is like there's so many expectations after 7 years of not having Oxenfree.
mm,
To just like have all these questions and theories, conspiracy theories, and lore findings and everything. And then you get Oxenfree II. And it's not like it doesn't answer questions. It's just like it doesn't answer the questions we want. Like, is Jonas like the oppressor messenger that we all thought? Do we get to talk to Maggie Adler? Do
mm.
we get to like actually communicate with the sunken? Can we actually see the sunken this time instead of just like little little ghostly figures? Can we actually see the people from the Kananoa? Can we see these people? But no, it just didn't answer the questions that we wanted, but still
Yeah,
answered questions.
because like for the price wise and like the storyline, about 5 hours or so, and based on the price, it's
Yes,
fair enough.
yeah.
I think like
It
what
felt a
you're
little
saying there is
longer
like
than
almost
5 hours. Like
yeah,
I think,
with the backtracking definitely.
yeah,
But like what you're saying with all the extra stuff, I feel like that could have been 3 hours worth of content added onto the game, and it would have given this like that little
yeah,
bit extra that it needed. Like as I said, like this just
yeah,
feels a bit. It feels a bit inconsistent because you have all these radio conversations going, and like obviously, first one's
yeah.
Evelyn. I really enjoyed the one with Evelyn. Then you get
Hmm.
onto another person, and is it Shelley? The called Shelley.
Shelly, yes. Yeah, you get
The
the park ranger
she
Shelly, yeah.
Park Ranger, yeah, Park Ranger Shelley. She comes in really late, so it's like I'm a bit like, I'm like, does this
Yeah,
character
and
really
then
need
she
to
was
be here? It's
related
like,
to like to the people in Cananola.
yeah,
Cananola? The
Canola,
submarine. Yeah, but she's related to one of the sunken, so
yeah. So
um
it's like a little
but
thing
yeah.
there, but it's like I'm like it's not needed for her. And then is Maria the student again? I'm sorry, my names
Yeah.
are just still popping in my head. It's like Maria's really funny. At times, like her conversations are quite funny. There's a really great segment where it's like she's talking about the fact that they've got a beeper. So every time she swears, they can use a beeper, and it's so
Yeah.
natural. And she's like, "I love this," and she's like dropping f bombs and all this, and it's like, yeah. I was like, that's why I said that I love the dialogue of this game, like how well it's written. And then it's my boy Nick as well, isn't it? Who's on the ship.
Yes, on Nick, yeah.
Yeah, like I really like Nick. Like that was just I was checking in with him every so often because I kept opening the map up. So every time I open the map up, it says you should check in with Nick and keep him company throughout the night, etc. So
Yeah.
there's one point where you like do it, and he's on the boat, and it's like I'm like go home, Nick. It's like do not die. And like my
Yeah,
entire
right.
like
It's
I was like
like,
so
oh
scared from
man,
that, but
these waters are a little bit weird. I don't know why I'm out here. I'm like, then go home. It's like,
yeah,
why are you
that,
there? It's like it's a little bit unsettling, isn't it? I'm like, go home, Nick. Just
yeah,
like,
that's
oh.
that's that's why I was like, I literally got to that point. I was like, "Go home, Nick." It's like you're being too much hit. But then it's like those are fine. So it's like I wouldn't even mind if the radio was like 3 or 4 characters, if that. But it's like there's so many people, and then like Olivia turns up, and Olivia starts talking to you, and obviously she's part of the game anyway. But it's
Yeah.
like I'm
And
like
then you can
she's
be in
on
the
the
same memory as Olivia too. Yeah.
yeah. So it's just like I'm like there's just so many like characters here. So that didn't need to be done. I feel like that just added too much weight on it because I was like fiddling through the radio and walkie
Hmm.
talkie and stuff. Um, but no, generally speaking, I love the scene where you're Riley and you get down to the docks and Rex is
Yeah.
there. And it's like so beautiful. He's like sitting there. He's like, you know who I am, and you're like, yeah, you're Rex. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, well, this is such a great
And it's
scene, and
like
like this is such.
It was such a moving moment where it's just like you understand that she's just trying to be a good mother to Rex,
Yeah,
and Rex is not even born yet. It's like all these visions of Rex, and um excuse me. And that's where like the sunken really come in of the saying like you can see the future from being possessed, not only just memories of the past, but memories of the future too.
yeah,
Um, and that's where Alex was talking about. It's like I've seen so many timelines of you as a person,
yeah,
um, and you'd never made it to Edwards Island, kind of thing. So
yeah,
that's my thing. It's just kind of like, oh, excuse me, but yeah, that's my thing. It's like I need a lot more playthroughs. Like I wanna get to know Violence and who was the who was the boy in the
oh, and her group.
parentage. Yeah, I can't remember his name. But like I want to know Violet more and I want to know the kid more. I can't remember his name for the life of me. But yeah, like there's so many characters I need to get more in depth with before
Yeah,
I make like my decision of like who's my favorite and all that cuz my favorite character in Oxenfree is Nona. I love
I love
Nona.
no.
Dude, like yeah, Nona is just such like a wild like horse and like just a wild card. You don't know Nona until you get to know like Nona's like life. It's just kind of like she's just there, you know.
Yeah,
She says the words banana bread, you know. I like Nona, but yeah, no, I would just say I need to know these characters a lot more in depth. Like this game takes at least 5 playthroughs for you to
yeah,
be like appreciating it. 3 to 5, I would say.
yeah.
Because one playthrough, you
Because
don't really get the depths of anything, you know?
no, you don't because it's like we're on the 14th of July recording this, and then it's like I finished on the 13th of July at midnight. I was like kind of sitting there, I was like, oh, and that's why I'm still like getting familiar with some of the characters' names. I believe Rex isn't the only baby name you can give to Riley's kid, isn't that right?
Yep. You can name Rex. I forget the other name. You
But
can,
isn't it funny? I just found it funny that you
yeah.
mentioned you called the kid Rex, and I call mine Rex.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's just like, it's a good segment, and that's what I mean. Like more playthroughs required because like you can name
Yeah,
Rex something else, you know.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, no, I even said I want Rex to be a girl, like, and then
Yes,
like
mine was the exact same. Mine was like literally shared
yeah,
memory here, like shared brain here. I was exactly the same. I was like, yeah, I want it to be a girl. I want it to be Rex, and it's
yeah,
like, what's the reason behind it? It's like I like
hmm
dinosaurs. I'm like, yeah,
and it's just like yeah, it's wild. But that's what I mean though. Like I definitely want to play this game more once I get more time on my hands, but I don't want to rush it like I did. I kind of rushed it because I wanted to get this
yeah.
recorded. But
I'm
yeah,
also
no.
guilty of that.
Yeah,
That's why
I
I've come.
rushed
That's
it.
why I come with my burning Alex like,
Yeah,
like God,
exactly.
God damn it, Alex.
That's what I mean.
By
I
the
think
way,
that's oh,
oh, no, go on,
so
can you?
I was that's what I mean by saying that like I think this is gonna be a controversial
Yeah,
Oxenfree because we had so many expectations, we had so many playthroughs, we have so many theories, and this game kind of had some things set forward. So I think that
yeah.
that's the only reason why I think it's controversial.
Did you feel old playing this game? By the way,
Did I
especially with
feel
these two
old?
characters. Yeah,
How
especially
about
with like
this? Do I feel old because I can't lean forward on my couch because my back is going to hurt too much? Talk
that
about
is
feeling
also
old.
true. That is also true. I
um,
felt that
I,
with Riley and Jacob. It felt very a bit like coming of age as well. This game,
mm,
in like in certain characters, and I felt quite old, like listening to their conversations and stuff. I feel like 'cause obviously like so much time has passed now. I don't feel like I
hmm
relate with like younger characters and video game characters, but like when they get to like these ages, I'm a bit like kind of
yeah,
see it. I kind of feel your life, and it's like when they talk about their like family and like their parents and who's not there. I'm like, oh, it feels
yeah,
surreal. But I feel like it caters. I feel like why I said to you, do you feel old? Because it feels like the developers are either our age or older, and they've lived through the same experiences, and it feels like these are now being relayed in the stories that we're seeing. So it's obviously like you're a younger generation playing it. You're going to play it for the sake of being a game. You're going to get invested in it, etc. But you're not going to have the same shared experiences that we do. I feel like I relate to these games, and this game was like really hitting me a little bit on certain notes. I was like, what do I say here? It's like, how do I phrase it? It's like, do I feel this way? Do I not feel that way? Am I still
yeah,
processing my own emotions?
yeah. No, I didn't really feel that way. I just more again, I'm seeing them more as like just characters, and like I just feel old in general, dude. Like I feel like again, I'm working a new job, and I don't get home till, I know, crazy talk here, I don't get home till 11 o'clock at night, and 11 o'clock at night is way past my bedtime. Like
Same, yeah.
I am slippers on by 8:30, in bed by 9 p.m. kind of kid.
Yeah.
It's like, so
Yeah.
talking about being old. But no, I definitely think that, to your credit though, I think that's from setting the story from junior high, like not junior high, sorry, junior high schoolers, right? Junior year high schoolers, third year high schoolers, to, I'm gonna say they're in their mid 30s. I'm gonna
Yeah.
say they're like,
I'll say that's good guess.
yeah, 34 to 36, like kind of range. I would say that. So from 16 to 34 is like such a vast difference
Oh,
of youth to like, oh my god, like, I did like the one line, and I have to relate a lot to this. Of course, because I have the existential crisis. I don't think I'll ever become a composer someday. um but like where Riley tells um Jacob, because Jacob's worried that he'll never do something important in his life, and Riley's like, well,
oh,
you're still young, your story isn't written yet, you don't know who you're going to be, you know and we established that Jacob is probably like 34, probably.
yeah.
And Riley's saying like, yeah, you're still young, you don't know. I'm just like, yeah, I relate a lot to that.
Yeah.
So I think that like the setting of 16, and like, remember when you were 16, 17 years old, and you're just like, I'm never
Oh.
gonna die, I'm not gonna die, like, who cares? And you're just like on a mystery island trying to find some ghosts, where you're like 33 and just like, it's like, this is
Feels like a
terrible.
lifetime ago, those years. Oh god,
That's what
feels
I
like a
mean,
lifetime
dude.
ago.
So I think it's just like, it's a different setting of characters. It's a different setting of like how to tell a story from
Yeah.
high school to um I still love it when the guy from the cult, I still can't remember his name, where he's just like, oh, some 45-year-old coming in, and she's like, I'm not 45.
Oh,
I
yeah.
was like, I'm not 45. It's like 45. No, I enjoyed it in that sense. Just, it's a different way to tell a story, and I appreciated them
Yeah.
for taking that different routes.
Yeah, overall I enjoyed it. I feel like there's more to be said at some point where I can talk about the kind of like um
Yeah.
the more deeper layers of the story having done more playthroughs. This is a game where I feel like this is more effective with this. Oxenfree feels more effective in terms of multiple playthroughs. I never
Yeah.
really did that with Telltale games. Never really did that with like Life is Strange, necessarily speaking. I feel like you
Yeah.
could go and see it and see different things, but they weren't as, this game needs multiple playthroughs in terms of that you see different things from different viewpoints, complete all the objectives, get the collectibles, etc., and then you can kind of like make your mind up on each character and each person. Because like we could
Mm.
sign off this, I could go and play it again and play as Alex, and then I'm a bit like, actually, I'm not that vested in her, and she's not as what I was thinking. But like that's the only real expectation I had coming into this when I saw Alex, because I expected Alex to make a second appearance. Just
Yeah.
off my kind of like thing, I was like expecting it to turn up. It's just the Alex I got was not the Alex I was thinking of. And I was like,
Yeah.
maybe that's just kind of like, I was expecting a little bit more of the protagonist I'd warmed up to in the first game, not this kind of like a little bit
Yeah.
more ruthless, callous one. Because again, I'm a people pleaser, so when I was doing Alex, I was like trying to mend relationships in the first game and like be nice to every other person, be nice to my stepbrother, etc. But I'm kind of like I was like when I got this Alex, I was like, you ain't my Alex, man. You ain't that
Yeah.
Alex.
Yeah.
Um, but
No.
generally speaking, really did enjoy most of what I saw, and I think it's an interesting. I just think it was you had to go somewhere with it, and if you're going X amount of years into the future, you're going new protagonists, new characters here and there. It's going to feel different and different in a way that you have to kind of accommodate to. So I feel like, generally speaking, I think like when I saw that games radar review, it's like 2 out of 5. I'm like, that was really harsh. I'm like, I don't agree with
Yeah.
that. Even if the story was underwhelming or whatever else, it would still be a 3 because I think Oxenfree is too good of a game, and the
That's what
kind
I
of like
mean. The threes and the sevens out of tens, like, I can agree with. Like,
yeah
I can agree with those.
yeah
But a two, I'm like, that's harsh, dude. That's
yeah
not a 2 out of 5 game. It's
no
just not, dude.
no
Um, Or
I still
whatever.
think that I think like it's hard as well for not a game like Oxenfree to review as well because like it's personal experience. Like you have to really
Yes.
dictate. It's like if I wrote that review, I would have written it about that burning thing about. Well, I would have mentioned it spoilers, but I would have felt that way about Alex. And I'm like, oh, I'm a bit angry
Yeah.
with this kind of like thing. And even if you had written the review, you'd be like, oh, I wish they would explore more lore and stuff
Yeah,
like this,
because like
etc. But
I
then,
didn't I went in so cold that I didn't even look up who like what voice actors are in this game. I did not want to look up if Aaron Yvette was in the game because then I would know
yeah,
Alex is in the game. So that came as a surprise to me that Alex came out. I'm like, oh, it's Alex because I didn't want to see if Aaron Yvette was in this game. So
yeah.
um
I
kudos
had
to
known
them.
the voice actors prior to this game. Like I'd looked them up because they'd done a tweet where it's showing like all the actors who were involved in it,
I
and
saw that and I
commendable
just like
job.
avoided that tweet. I
Yeah,
was like,
you're like,
no. It's like, I don't want to know. But yeah,
that
no.
was the only tweet I engaged with and like looked at as well, and like looked at the actor. So I knew that Alex's voice actor wouldn't be in there, but like the voice acting is stellar. Oh my god,
Yeah.
they're so commendable. I feel like we didn't even talk about that early on, but the voice acting is exceptional from the actors. The
Oh god,
direction
yeah.
of the voice director and the kind of voice direction of the actor acting as well. Oh, it's so good, man. It's so
Yeah.
good hearing those voices, and they're so well done as well.
Which by the
It's a
way, do
shame.
you speaking of, Telltale games, do you know who voices Jonas? Because he was also
Mm,
in The Walking Dead. And I can't remember the guy's name. um but
who's
yeah,
he?
no, the guy who voices Jonas, I'm dead serious. He voices um the guy who was his son is Ducky.
Oh, Kenny.
Kenny, yes. Same voice actor as
No.
Kenny. Yes, straight up.
Oh my, no way.
Same
That's
voice
some
actor.
range.
Yeah, dude. So like from Jonas to Kenny, dude, it's like it's wild.
That's
Um,
that is some exceptional range, actually. Wow, I
yeah, I
didn't
know.
expect that. But I like that by the way as well. I love the fact that the Oxenfree studio has creative minds from Telltale in it, and they've like kept quite close
hmm
affiliation with some of the other Telltale actors that they'd worked with, like who'd worked on the previous franchises. So you kind of
Yeah.
like you recognize their voice after a little bit. It's like you kind of like, oh, actually, I know who that person is. It's
Oh,
like
I was
it's
even gonna
fun.
say if you've played After Party, which was the game Night School Studios did after Oxenfree,
Mm.
Ashley Birch is in that game.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Hey.
and her role in After Party is really. I wasn't a huge fan of After Party, but again, I only did one playthrough of After Party. I want to do
Yeah.
more in After Party. But Ashley Birch's character in After Party is good. But no,
Because
that's all the. Oh, go for it.
the funny part is that Ashley Birch doesn't change her voice in any performance. She
No,
just
she
keeps her
doesn't.
natural voice, and
Yeah,
but that's what makes her characters great as well. Because it's just Ashley Birch in
it's just
personality.
Ashley Birch. Yeah,
Yeah, so it's
that's
like,
what I
and you
find
know,
charming. Yeah.
yeah, I found that very charming with some actors. Like some have to change it for obviously specific roles, but with like those characters, you can just keep your natural voice, and it just like flows with all these characters.
hmm
Um, which is quite
Yeah.
nice. And obviously, again, like big shout outs to the actors because they did do exceptional work. And obviously, we might see big changes in the industry going forward with SAG going on strike. And it's
Yeah.
like there's a big change in direction there. Like I read like yesterday where it's like Cillian Murphy and someone else from Oppenheimer walked off the red carpet for the premiere of
hmm
the film. And it's like I'm like, oh wow. I'm like, young people do not understand how deeply affecting these strikes are going to be. Like we've lived through it. We're
Yeah.
generation like trauma that we have. Like we've done it with the financial crisis and stuff. We saw the early strikes in the early 2000s, which like or mid 2000s, which affected TV shows. We saw the SAG strikes, which affected Life is Strange and other games from
Yeah.
that period. Trust me, this is something that you do, and I think this is the first time in the history where SAG is going on strike with the writers as well. So it's
Yes.
like it's a monumental change, and maybe someone should take the mic away from Bob Iger because he's not doing he's not making the situation any
Yeah.
better. Bob Iger is the CEO of Disney, and it's like what he says like Bob, maybe you shouldn't like start a fight with this and like throw fuel on the
Yeah.
fire at this point. But aside from
But
that, no,
back.
what you said about
Yeah.
Ashley,
Yeah. Back on point.
yeah.
But yeah, no, that's
Do you?
all really. Oh, what's that?
No, I'm gonna let you go. By the way, anyone watching, we have a bit of a delay sometimes. So it's like this is why I don't choose to talk over Adam on every opportunity. But
Yeah.
continue. Sorry, continue.
No, I was just gonna say that's all I really have to say about Oxenfree 2 for now
Yeah,
until I have more playthroughs. I don't like, my thoughts are just overall positive, but
Yeah.
I have to get over the expectations I had going into this game. So
Yeah, I agree with you as well, because it's like, imagine how we feel about Don't Know Montreal's game. The expectation is like, I can't bring myself down now, and it's like I'm like literally
I
like riding
know.
cloud nine in every game.
I
I do this with some
know.
game, very few games in my life where I do it. It's like when someone suggested something to me and I've appreciated it. So I went into Oxenfree and just enjoy it for what it is, and then I kind of like get a sequel or something. My expectation just goes through the roof, and it's like
Yeah.
it's on like a level which I can't actually explain to you. Like it's a bad thing to be at that kind of level of expectation, because then you're expecting something which is already great as it is, like Oxenfree 2, to then not set the expectation that you have. So yeah, I completely understand with you as well, because I know when you're building up to me, like, oh, I've got this kind of fear, I got this fear. I was like, oh, Adam, I was like, I don't know if this is going to happen. I was like, I don't know if this is going to be all told the way that you want to. Like, I feel like you like, there's so much here that you're like picking to, and maybe they don't even want to go
I'm
into at
so
all.
invested into Oxenfree that I'm just like, I wanted answers, and just like,
Yeah,
I didn't really get the answers I wanted, but I got answers for some things,
yeah.
So I'll have to go back and like re-look at those answers again. But,
yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna go back and play it through it as well, and reevaluate my situation with Alex as well, and then I think maybe we'll cross-reference back on a StrangeCast episode,
yeah,
and
definitely.
do it and spread the art segment, and we'll just talk about where we get up to there. But either way, I hope you all enjoyed that. As I said, let us know what you think about Oxenfree 2. Have you played Oxenfree 1? You should go and play it as well if you haven't. Even though we spoiled the hell out of it and you've lasted this part of the conversation, then I hope you enjoyed all the spoilers. But yeah, let us know if you played Oxenfree 2, if you're going to pick it up. It'd be really nice to hear. As always as well, please do consider dropping us a subscribe, like, turn on notifications, and share with your friends. It helps build this channel, helps keep up to date with this channel, and helps us support us as well. I'm not going to do that YouTube algorithm spiel. I don't like to do that anymore. But yeah, any support you can give us is good. And obviously, as I said, me and Adam, if you're new here, we host Life is Strange podcast bi-weekly, StrangeCast, which you can go and check out. 48 episodes. One of my favorite parts about the channel is when people come on and they're like, hang on a minute, it's like I've just found this channel, it's great, and I've watched this one video. I'm like, you got a lot of more content to watch. So as I said, a lot more content to check out. But yeah, hope you enjoyed it. Take care, guys. See you later.
Peace.